This is how a perfect handheld should look like, or at least that's what I thought when I bought it. I've been using it for over 2 months now, pretty often and in very different conditions. At the airport, on a plane, on a volcano crater, in a park, at the sea, feeding ducks at the lake, and of course at home. But even at home I experimented and replaced my PC with the Legion Go, of course with eGPU connection. And today I wanna share this experience with you, without going too far into the technical aspect of the device. I don't have anything to compare it to, but I used to have a Steam Deck. I liked the handheld itself, but it didn't stay with me for too long, because I'm quite spoiled by my home PC, and the picture and performance that Steam Deck offered wasn't enough for me. Of course now there's also OLED version, and it could change partially in my opinion, but only partially. I wouldn't have bought Legion Go either, if it wasn't for my curiosity to test the Windows handheld by my own hands, and a 30% discount for the unpacked model at local store. And since I was planning a vacation, I decided to give a handheld gaming a second chance. And first that I wanna discuss here is a screen resolution, which is a controversial topic for many. On one hand, it's significantly larger than its competitors, but on the other hand, it's not large enough for such a high resolution. 2560 by 1600 on almost 9 inches? That's gonna demand a lot of resources from the hardware. But it all depends on your gaming preferences. When I had a Steam Deck, I knew I would be playing mostly indie games. But sometimes I wanna play something more demanding, and that's where the Steam Deck struggled. Not just in terms of performance, but also in providing an immersive experience on a small screen. Just to clarify, I had the LCD version of the screen, not the OLED. In case of the Legion Go, with such a screen, I don't even mind playing games that I previously wouldn't run on a handheld. I played a lot in Divinity Original Sin and Sifu on it. Both games aren't the most demanding, but I could play them at the screen's native resolution and with playable FPS, and to get the smoothest picture, I always can reduce resolution to 1200p and change performance mode. There are different power consumption modes, and most of the time I had a 15W power saving mode. In this mode I see nothing but positives: excellent performance, longer battery life, less heat and quieter fans. But even in performance mode, the handheld surprised me. Yes, it will be noisy and it will get significantly hotter, but you will not feel it in your hands, because your hands will be holding detachable controllers and there is nothing to heat up. All the heat will be concentrated around here. Seriously, detachable controllers are one of my favorite features of the Legion Go. Although, because of this connection, the controllers wobble, with the right one wobbling more than the left. But it didn't bother me much. Just a few words regarding the FPS mode. I started by going through the training in Apex Legends to get used to the controls, but immediately ran into lack of buttons for all the controls. I simply don't have any unused buttons left to switch grenades, but in games with fewer controls it works fine. But this way you distance yourself from the screen, and it already becomes small for shooters like that in my opinion. And while I didn't detach them often, I appreciated that on a plane. But what I didn't appreciate was how long the battery lasted. I played Sifu on a 15W profile for 40 minutes at the airport, just a little over an hour on a plane, and that's it. Luckily my flight was only 2 hours long, so it wasn't a problem for me. But is it the portable gaming experience we've been asking for? For longer flights, you'll need to bring a power bank, and not every power bank will work. My old one couldn't charge it at all. When I connected to my monitor via Type-C with a 15W power delivery, it was also completely ignored, so keep that in mind. Fortunately, the Legion Go has 2 USB ports, so I could connect the charger separately. But it ends up being such a weird setup, and you can't use the kickstand anymore if you want to place it on a table as a second monitor. By the way, you might notice that in most of my footage the kickstand is extended. And this is done intentionally, so I can lean the handheld on my leg and not block the airflow for cooling, or so I can put it anywhere at any moment. So if you have a monitor without a power delivery and you want to connect a handheld to it, I recommend preparing a USB hub. This way you can get a quite powerful mini PC that handles many games quite well. And if you want a more serious performance, you can always connect this. For those who don't know, this is an eGPU dock from AliExpress. It has appeared in my several videos before. Inside is an RTX 2060 and a power supply for it. but now it will be in a nice case. The monitor serves as a USB hub, with all peripherals connected to it. This way monitor and USB format are connected to the eGPU. eGPU has two Thunderbolt ports, one of which has a 65-watt power delivery, so I was connecting my Legion Go to it, which allowed me to use just one cable for charging, monitor, GPU and all peripherals. For me, it was one of the most interesting use cases for the Legion Go, an attempt to replace my PC with it. For the sake of the experiment, I literally set aside my high-end PC and used only the Legion Go for about 2 weeks. The first thing that I noticed was how the Legion space was displayed on my ultrawide monitor. But I was not using it anyway, so who cares? But I need this one. And to make all menu items visible, I had to make handheld screen as a main one. But that way, once you start the game, it will start on that screen. So after changing the necessary settings, I had to change the main screen every time. It's also strange that there is no keyboard shortcut to access this menu. It's only accessible via a button on the Legion controller so far. The Legion Go controllers could not replace my gamepad at home. I mean, they're super convenient to use in a handheld mode, and it's great that occasionally you can detach them. But they're not convenient to use at home in that way compared to the gamepad. But when you connect an Xbox gamepad, in some games like Rocket League or Sifu, it just doesn't work, even though it's connected and can be used in Windows. And the reason is that it's detected as an additional gamepad. I tried changing the settings of the main gamepad in Windows, but that didn't help. The workaround here was quite amusing. Turn on FPS mode on the Legion Go and our controller turns into mice for Windows. Then connect the Xbox gamepad and now everything works. If I turn off the FPS mode, the controllers from our handheld will detect as an additional gamepad. If someone is interested in using this as a mini PC, they should be prepared to the fact that 16 gigs of RAM isn't really 16 gigs, as by default only 12 is available, since the rest is allocated to the integrated GPU, and the lack of RAM can be a problem. In my daily usage, 80% of the RAM is occupied most of the time, and when I launch Adobe Premiere Pro, it becomes a nightmare. Timeline editing is slow, browser tabs gets unloaded to free up memory, and Premiere Pro itself crashed a couple of times for me. After that, I gave up trying to edit 4K video on it. But in games, I didn't encounter any issues with my list. But I mostly played Divinity Original Sin, which is quite an old game. Although I played demanding games when I connected the RTX 4090 to the Legion Go for one of the previous videos. If you're interested, here's an example of performance you can get from this tandem. Just to clarify, 4090 is an overkill for the eGPU. I do not recommend this because you'll lose a huge chunk of performance. And if you want to know more about eGPU, check my video where I covered real Thunderbolt bandwidth speed or when I connected eGPU directly to the desktop PC to compare performance. Throughout this time, I had the RTX 2060 connected, and it handled my games perfectly. Even with the eGPU connected, I almost always used the 15-watt power saving mode, so the noise from the eGPU was much more noticeable than from the handheld itself. I like that with such a setup you could disconnect one cable and you have a portable device with the same list of games and saves. Just let me remind you that not all games have a cloud saves, and when I played Dark Souls 3 on a PC, I could not continue on a Steam Deck. I play some games exclusively on the eGPU, so to avoid wasting internal storage, I store these games on an external SSD and connect it to the eGPU. That way, when I connect the eGPU to the handheld, external SSD with the games is automatically detected. When I was using a handheld in this scenario, I noticed another downside: a slow charging speed when the handheld is turned on. My cable can charge up to 65 watts, same as the power supply that comes with the handheld, but it can take hours to charge the battery. I can't say that it's a big problem for me. During my gaming sessions at home, Legion Go doesn't have enough time to discharge, as I usually play for 30-60 minutes. And sometimes the charging cable is nearby, and nothing is stopping you from connecting it. I had a such cable near my bed, only it wasn't just a charger, it was an eGPU, and it was amazing. But from time to time I saw this error, and in special cases, this. This error indicates the GPU is disconnected, but it's still visible in Device Manager. Apparently there was a mini disconnect due to handheld movement, although the connection looks reliable. I won't blame the handheld port specifically, as it could be a problem with the cable itself. I just don't have another one to check. And when the handheld stood still on the table, there were no such problems. But to sum up all my experience with this handheld compared to the Steam Deck, it gave me many more positive emotions than the negative ones. The enlarged screen increased immersion in the game. The powerful hardware expanded the list of possible games that I would like to play on this handheld. And the comfortable grip of the controller and its lack of heating prevented me from quickly putting the handheld aside to sit down at my PC. But Legion Go runs on Windows with all the ensuing consequences. Plug in the charger in sleep mode, it turns on. Put it back to sleep, it might wake up randomly in the middle of the night to illuminate your entire room. You installed a new game? Be prepared to search for optimal graphic settings. In SteamOS, you won't have most of these problems. But there are some games that you just won't be able to play on it. But aside from Steam, I also have a game library on Epic Games and a subscription to the Game Pass. Therefore, for me, Windows is more of a benefit than a drawback. The experiment with the eGPU and PC replacement can also be called successful, if we are only talking about games. Personally though, I ran into a shortage of RAM and weak performance in video editing, so for me, the Legion Go won't be able to replace my PC for now. Also, I can't say that I used it often on vacation, just like last time with the Steam Deck. I certainly took some beautiful shots and it was a cool experience. But I think you realized that right after the shot, it was all packed away because I don't really want to play in places like that. Still, I don't regret taking the handheld with me. If I had a less busy schedule or a longer trip, I would gladly use it more often. I just wish it took up less space in my backpack. Even though I will not keep the Legion Go for myself, I was able to change my opinion about the handheld gaming for the better. If you found this interesting, maybe you'll be interested to hear about the Steam Deck as well. Currently, I'm waiting for delivery of One X Player X1, which could potentially be the device I was searching for, and even with a larger screen size. So stay tuned and thank you for watching.